Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to get into a trip we took last year in 2023 with some amazing friends from Hawaii, and that trip was along the Camino de Santiago, or also known as the Way of St. James. Sometimes people just refer to this journey as the Way or the Camino, which is a series of pathways that pilgrims have been taking for centuries, hundreds and hundreds of years, throughout all parts of Europe, this wide array network of paths that all lead to the same destination in northern Spain, where there's this large church called Santiago de Compostela, and this church is dedicated to St. James, where his remains are buried. And so people have been going there for centuries on pilgrimage, and this was a fascinating journey for us. It had been a long time bucket list item that we could finally check off, and it was also a time of self-discovery, of reflection, of deepening one's faith. And in addition, there were many practical things that we wish we would have done a little bit different. Now that we know better, we want to share some of those insights with you to make your future Camino trip a little bit less problematic. But it was a wonderful experience, so we are going to share with you the details right now coming up. We are Dennis and Min. Come join us on our traveling adventures around the world. So here we are, the five of us, ready to embark on our Camino journey with Deacon Ray, his wife Roxanne, and Noreen, and Min and myself. And we did this 7-day Camino starting from just over the northern border of Portugal in southern Spain in Vigo. And that went pretty much direct north to Santiago de Compostela. Now, the first day of our journey, it rained off and on, and one of the things that I learned early on was to not get your feet wet. So don't use what we did, which was an old poncho's arms, and we fabricated those around the bottom of my legs to keep the rain from dripping into my socks, into my shoes. I have to say it did work. Did I look ridiculous? Absolutely. But you know, the great thing when you're on this Camino is you don't know anybody and nobody knows you, and my friends accept me as I am, so it was all good. So yes, tip number one is definitely do whatever you've got to do to keep your feet dry, because you're walking a lot. And we actually did train for several weeks prior to this journey. We were taking long walks from an hour, sometimes 2 to 3 hours a day in these new shoes that we had purchased. You don't want to buy brand new shoes and then do your journey. You want to definitely work them in. So that's tip number 2. And going back to tip number 1, do what you got to do to keep them dry. Now, our journey began in October, so it was the off season. It wasn't that crowded, and coming from the Portugal side of southern Spain, there's some popularity gaining now for that route. It's very scenic if you start the journey in Portugal because it's all along the coast. But seasonally, it wasn't really crowded, so we had the Camino almost to ourselves, but we did run into a lot of people along the way, and it was really fascinating to get to meet people from all over the world that are doing this Camino. Now we, like I said, started our Camino just over the border of Portugal and southern Spain, but there are dozens of routes all throughout Europe, but mostly throughout Spain and France, that will take you to Santiago de Compostela. I'm going to put a map up here so you can see all those various routes. There's no wrong way or right way. Some are a little bit more mountainous and hilly. The Portuguese way is a little bit less strenuous in that regard. But you've got a variety of beautiful scenery from just about any route that you take. And of course, because of time constraints, we were limited to a week. But there's people that take this Camino and walk for weeks and months. So the trail for us, the Camino, started in the town of Vigo, which took us north to Pontevedra, through Lestrov and Caldas de Reis, and then on to Santiago de Compostela, and we arrived there on November 1st. Now, I must say that our first day, we were relying on GPS. We should have been paying more attention to the shells. You see those scallop-shaped shell signs all throughout these parts of Europe, guiding you on the way. And we were in this technological age a little bit more concerned with our GPS. And unfortunately, as I've stated in some other videos, the GPS in Europe is not that reliable, at least the ones that we've been using. And so we got off track, and it actually added probably at least 2 to 4 hours onto that first day of walking. That would not have happened if we had been finding and following these signs. So the first day was very rigorous, but it was a learning lesson. And from every day thereafter, we were able to stay on track with following the shell signs. And tip number 3, I would definitely recommend traveling light. Now, there's a couple ways that you can go about doing the Camino. Some people do it on a bike or e-bikes, but many walk the journey. We actually did a self-guided tour with Orbis Ways. There's many companies that offer these services where you pay them a fee and they handle all the logistics, which means they also transport your luggage from point A to point B all along the way. So they pick up your luggage from wherever you're staying, whatever hotel they had prearranged in the morning, and then they will take it there so that by the time you get to your next stop in the afternoon, your luggage is already there. So it's very nice. I highly recommend that. They were awesome, and it's nice not having to carry all that additional weight along the way. You definitely feel free and lighter. And the hotel stays were amazing. They all provided breakfast, and the breakfast, I have to say, was not always just some muffins and coffee. I mean, some of these breakfasts were pretty elaborate. So we really appreciated that, and having warm tubs in the evening to soak our feet in. And they were great stays. And I would also say that having your luggage transported is a luxury. But if you want to rough it, then certainly you can do it on your own that way. So yes, if you've got your own luggage backpack with you and you're walking the Camino, that's great. But do note that you don't have to necessarily bring tons of water with you and food. There are cafes all along the way. You're going to find yourself running across a lot of small villages and towns on your journey throughout the day. There's probably very few routes, even coming from France and other countries perhaps. There's probably very few pathways that you will have to go a full day without coming through or passing through a village. So don't worry about having to stock up. There are places to get water along the way. And again, there's going to be restaurants and places to eat as well. So our journey with the self-guided tour company came out to about $1,500 for the two of us, for Min and I. So it's about $700 to $800 per person. So for us, the Camino was a great spiritual pilgrimage. It definitely allowed us to connect more with God along the way, especially in being able to see the beauty of God's creation through all these places that we were traversing through on our way to Santiago de Compostela. But it also allowed us to bond with each other as husband and wife and our friends from Hawaii. And finally, after 6 nights, on the 7th day, we arrived in Santiago de Compostela, having reached the 0-kilometer mark. So at all these pathways, you're actually working your way backwards numerically. So here we are, celebrating our arrival at Santiago de Compostela. And so it is said that the Apostle St James the Great brought Christianity to the Iberian Peninsula, and according to legend, his tomb was rediscovered in the year 814 by a hermit who had witnessed some strange lights in the night sky. The local bishop there recognized this as a miracle, ordered a chapel be built on the site. And there was some changes along the way to that construction, and because the Moors had occupied that area for a while. But the cathedral was finished finally and consecrated in the year 1211 in the presence of King Alfonso IX of Leon. And it's built mostly of granite. And the city became an episcopal see in the year 1075, and the church and its cathedral. Due to its growing importance as a place of pilgrimage, it was raised to an archiepiscopal see by Pope Callistus II in 1120, and then a university was added nearby in the year 1495. So when we arrived there, it was All Saints' Day, which for Catholics around the world, that is a holy day of obligation. So it's on feast days like that where the Botafumeiro is swung in the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela. This is where it's a thurible that is found in the church, and it is basically a large incense holder that is the largest in the world. It weighs 180 pounds. It measures over 5 feet tall, and it is filled with almost between 80 and 100 pounds of charcoal and incense. So I'm going to be showing a little video here shortly. Unfortunately, I was kind of off to the side in the cathedral, so you can't get the full swing, but when you'll see it, you can't unsee it because this thing is so huge. And it is said that they wanted to be able to get the incense to, be able to be dispersed throughout the entire basilica because it's so huge of a church. Another reason it is said that they swing it all the way from side to side, from one end of the church to the other, is because basically to try to diffuse the odor and the smell of the pilgrims who had arrived there after many, many days, weeks, and perhaps months of not showering very well. So it's an amazing display, and we were very grateful to be able to see that swung at that time. And so it also you can also pay, if you're with the group, you can pay to have it be done as well. But that was a really cool sight to behold. So in addition to the pilgrim passports, which everybody receives and gets stamped all along their journey, especially at the hotels or hostels where they're staying, once you finish your Camino, your journey at Santiago de Compostela, you receive a certificate of accomplishment. And to earn this Compostela, as it's called, one needs to walk a minimum of 100 kilometers, which we did more than that, or cycle at least 200 kilometers. And after our journey, we made a quick stop to Fatima, Portugal, which is near where Min and I are living now, to give thanks for a wonderful journey experience and a faith-filled adventure. And I've got a lot more to share with you about Fatima in a separate video, so stay tuned in the future for that. But a wonderful way to wrap up our Camino experience. And that concludes our amazing trip along the Camino de Santiago. And let us know in the comments if you have a trip planned in the future, and if in any way, shape, or form this video may have helped you in your preparations for that trip. So that's it for now. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and we will keep you posted on our future travels. Take care.